Hello, everyone, and welcome to the First Unitarian Congregation of Toronto's weekly virtual service. As a community, we seek, connect, and serve in the sacred hope that together we can grow the sum total of love and justice in our world. We welcome you here, wherever you find yourself in the world, and on life's journey today. You're welcome here because you are here. I'd like to start this morning by acknowledging and appreciating the lands that we live and rely on. We must hold gratitude for beautiful flowers in our gardens and on the sides of hiking trails. We have to hold gratitude for the glistening surface of the waters of Lake Ontario and of the deep, dense, salty oceans. And be grateful for the cool shade and calming songs of the mighty oak and quaking aspen trees as they rustle in the wind on hot July days like these. We acknowledge this morning that the building of First Unitarian Congregation of Toronto is located on the lands of the Anishinaabe Mississauga, the Haudenosaunee, Ojibwe Chippewa, and Wendat peoples. This territory was the subject of the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant and is also covered by the Upper Canada Treaties. We must recognize our individual and communal responsibility towards respecting the lands on which we live, worship, and learn, and the Indigenous people who have been caretakers and stewards of their lands for thousands of years. I encourage each and everyone at service today to research whose territory you are living on and think about what challenges are facing the communities near you, as well as provincially and globally. As a congregation, may we strive on together to help heal the wounds of our past and our present in the essential and ongoing work of reconciliation. I now invite you, if you have a chalice or candle at home, to light it while we join in saying the chalice lighting words. As we light our chalice, may its flame kindle within us the warmth of compassion, the glow of love, the fire of commitment, and the light of truth.
Our call to worship this morning is Each Day by Reverend Kristen Harper from the collection Voices from the Margins. Each day provides us with an opportunity to love again, to hurt again, to embrace joy, to experience unease, to discover the tragic. Each day provides us with an opportunity to live. And this day is no different, this hour no more unique than the last, except maybe today, maybe now, among friends and fellow journeyers, maybe for the first time, maybe if only silently, we can share ourselves. So however much we share ourselves, may we find this to be a place where we can share ourselves a little bit more. So come, let us worship together. From our many and varied paths, we arrive here as individuals to build up within and beyond these walls a community of commitment and hope. To express the highest aspirations of our congregation, let us now join in the words of our covenant. Which should appear in a moment. Love is our doctrine. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve life to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with all.
I bring you news of the life of the congregation. First off, an update from the Congregational Safety Advisory Council as we all look forward to a return to gathering in person. As of now, and these are always subject to change, we will continue to meet online throughout the summer. And our sincerest hope for the fall is a return to in-person services at some point in September, again, depending on guidance from government. And but we will hopefully get to a return of in-person in the fall. At this time, our recommendation is for small groups to continue to meet online or in person outdoors, adhering to current public health guidelines. And all potential participants must agree that they are comfortable meeting in person prior to the meeting. Also happening today, following the service at 11:30, we have a newcomer information session with me and Diane Wagner, and I'll post that Zoom link at the end of the service. It's also available on the website. And also, First Unitarian is hiring. We are seeking a communication specialist to help us implement our digital engagement strategy. We have developed an outstanding multi-year digital communication strategy for the congregation. That was through the hard work of consultant Laura Graham Prentice and with executive member Marianne Roche and a team of members. And now to take this to the next stage, we need to make a hire for a communication specialist. If you could help share this, it's on the website and in First Light, that would be really helpful. We have that deadline coming up on the 16th of this month, and we will really hope to find a great fit to move that digital engagement strategy forward. That's not only a plan for our digital communications, but how everything that we do, the communications of everything at First, ties into our member engagement. This will essentially make us better at everything we do and allow us to build stronger community within, and also to have greater reach and do more impactful world in the wider world. So thanks for your support and sharing this job posting. And I invite you to consult First Light and the website for additional information about congregational news and events from the Canadian Unitarian Council.
Today's meditation will be marked first by a reading entitled For Belonging, in the words of John Donahue, silence, then music. I invite you now to enter a state of mindful meditation, thought, or prayer. For belonging. May you listen to your longing to be free. May the frames of your belonging be generous enough for your dreams. May you arise each day with a voice of blessing whispering in your heart. May you find harmony between your soul and your life. May the sanctuary of your soul never become haunted. May you know the eternal longing that lives at the heart of time. May there be kindness in your gaze when you look within. May you never place walls between the light and yourself. May you allow the wild beauty of the invisible world to gather you, mind you, and embrace you in belonging.
We now enter a time of sharing that which weighs on our hearts today and the things lifting us up. By sharing with one another, naming our joys and sorrows together, we strengthen the bonds of community and bring all that is our life into our collective consciousness. If you're watching on YouTube, please submit your sorrows and joys early, as there's a slight lag between live and the YouTube stream. Today, we're thinking of those around the world who are suffering, whose worth and dignity is denied. We continue to hold in our hearts the Indigenous peoples from across the land as we come to terms with the legacy of genocide in Canada's residential schools. May Indigenous peoples be comforted in their long-suffered grieving, and may their voices and those of their ancestors be lifted up and truly heard. May we take the time to learn the 94 calls to action from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and to turn our outrage and grieving to action. And may our government obey the courts and honor the treaty obligations. We send loving care to all who are struggling at this time, whether mental, physical, or spiritual. May they all be well. In the spirit of mutual love and care, I invite you to share your sorrows and concerns now by typing them into the chat or holding them in the silent sanctuary of your heart. I'll do my best to honor these. Yes, Margaret Rao draws our attention to the extreme heat and resultant wildfires and loss of life, loss of land this past week. Thank you, Margaret. And Harold Wright, who says, I'm grieving the loss of our very dear friend, Barbara Smith, who died in Donegal a few weeks ago. Our thoughts are with you and with Barbara's family, Harold. And continuing to look with care to the rest of the world, continuing to deal with this COVID pandemic. As things open up here, may we remember that this is long from over in many parts of the world. And in our lives, there is also much to celebrate, milestones, occasions to celebrate with our loved ones. And we do express joy and elation as we continue to see Canada's number of COVID cases fall as vaccinations rise. We share in the joy of those who are fully dosed, especially of those being able to reconnect with families and friends for the first time in a long time. Our joy is shared with you. And may those who are seeking an opportunity for a second dose be able to find one soon. I invite you to share your joys and gratitudes, all that which is lifting your spirit and bringing you joy today in the chat. Yes, there it is from Lindsay Cornfield, finally hugging family members after 15 months. Much joy for you, Lindsay, and to everyone who's sharing in that. I heard an outdoor and relatively safe house party in the neighborhood yesterday, and they shared the celebration as a birthday party for everyone because everyone missed their birthday, and sharing that together over the last year. And I thought it was really beautiful to hear the joy of these friends and their time together. And Kelly Ferguson, thankful for the solidarity event organized by Maze at Christie Pitts on July 1st. Yes, and more joys for face-to-face visits since last September, that from Sue Hansel. And Margaret Newell's expressing gratitude for a visit from grandson and partner for the first time in a year. Again, joy for more reunions. And from Julith, grateful for her Colombian student Pablo, who is back with her in Canada again, learning English and cooking brunch together today. Wonderful news, Julith, and welcome back, Pablo. Ken Wolf, joys for going round the mulberry tree. It is mulberry season. And we discovered that the tree in our front yard is a mulberry tree too. It has not fruited before. That was a joy here as well. And for Margaret Vandenbroek, Margaret's 12-year-old granddaughter, so joyful to be able to be at summer camp. And yes, much joy for those children able to resume summer activities in that way as well. Gratitude from Carol Ann for a wonderful walk in the new neighborhood. Fabulous to see so many people out enjoying food and friends at outdoor patios. Much joy and thanks for those sounds of revelry. And from Maya Ferguson Klonowski, who we're so happy to have worship leading today. I'll name that as a joy. And Maya names looking forward to sharing fresh mulberry jam as part of a fundraiser for TIHR. And from Eveline, my darling friend of more than 50 years, Heather died last week. I and many will miss her enormously. We're so sorry, Eveline, we share in your grieving. And will you join me in a closing blessing? Spirit of life known to us by many names and beyond all naming, may the sharing of these joys and sorrows deepen the connections between us here and send our compassion to the wider world. May our hearts be filled with gratitude for all that we have and for the potential that lies in our every word and deed. Let the love in our hearts and the work in our hands build a world that is more fair, loving, and just. In the spirit of all that is good. Amen.
Our reading today is called Paradox, and it is by Sarah York, and I have abridged it. We named the kitten Puppy Cat, which fits her contradictory nature. She follows us around like a puppy. With no apparent physical needs, she cries for attention. She just wants to chat and demands some sign that we are listening. If we try to pick her up, however, she protests. Keep close and pet me, she says, but don't hold me. I want to be free. The needs for love and freedom create ambivalence in most of us. Like Puppy Cat, we send out double messages. Love me, but do not intrude upon my space. I want to be close, but I'm afraid of being hurt. I need you, but I want to be independent. I need to be needed, but I don't want to be used. We are all human beings. We're born, we live, we die. This is the human predicament. This is where we find ourselves. So how then do we live our lives? This is the big question of humanism. Humanism says that there are no stone tablets that contain all the answers. There is no oracle to go to receive ultimate truth. We need to figure things out for ourselves. And what a responsibility. Humanism is about taking on that responsibility. Today, we're going to discuss two types of humanism, two ways that we might reasonably live our lives. First, let's look at what these types of humanism have in common. First of all, humanism says that we should live ethically. We should not let custom or received wisdom dictate our behavior. We need to consider what is right behavior. We won't always know how to live ethically, but we ought to try. And how do we figure that out? We use our minds. And this is the second attribute of humanism, reason. Not cold logic, but reason tempered by human values. We listen to our conscience and intuition. We consider our feelings and beliefs. We test our beliefs with experience and experiments. We dialogue with each other. We engage in discernment. A third attribute of humanism is about how we govern ourselves. Humanism says that we should govern ourselves democratically, not simply by majority rule, though, because majorities can make mistakes, just like individuals can. So we make decisions democratically while protecting individuals by valuing human rights. A fourth attribute of humanism is that it combines freedom and responsibility. We all ought to be free, and we should use whatever freedom we have to help all be free, to help sustain and expand our freedom. So that is the framework of humanism. Live ethically, thoughtfully, and democratically, valuing both freedom and responsibility. And this brings us to the ultimate goal of humanism, what it's all about. The ultimate goal of humanism is to maximize fulfillment. So the website Humanist Canada points out that fulfillment comes not just from living ethically and thoughtfully, but also from the arts, from creative living, from addressing the challenges of our time. That leaves a lot of room for variety and brings us to our topic for today. Two types of humanism, two different ways of finding fulfillment. I got these two types from the author Yuval Harari, but the descriptions are my own. So here we go. Our first type of humanism is liberal humanism. The emphasis here is on freedom. Freedom for you, freedom for your neighbor, freedom for the stranger, freedom for the oppressed. This is the traditional type of humanism that came to dominate early Unitarian culture. And too often the focus was on freedom for oneself. So perhaps you picture Henry David Thoreau living alone beside Walden Pond. You can do what you want, where you want. Reverend Don Stout, minister of the Mississauga congregation back in the 1950s, when it was called South Peel, had a vision to be free in the sunlight with none to call him in or hush his song. And that quote is on a plaque outside the Mississauga congregation beside a maple tree. To be free in the sunlight with none to call him in or hush his song. That is liberal humanism. There is a part of us that needs to leave home and explore, that needs to blow in the wind and rise in the sea, that needs to turn up every rock and look beyond every horizon. In Carolyn McDade's phrase, roots hold me close, wings set me free. Liberal humanism puts the focus on wings setting each of us free. We have enormous capacity to be free spirits. This can be fulfilling for a while, perhaps breathing life into some adventurous living in your 20s. but we can also get homesick. Our second type of humanism is social humanism. The emphasis here is on relationship and commitment. We give up some of our freedom in order to share life, because this is where we find meaning. We know our neighbors, we go to birthday parties, we have songs that we all know and love. Wendell Berry said, "A community is the mental and spiritual condition of knowing that the place is shared, and that the people who share the place define and limit the possibilities of each other's lives. Our commitments limit us, but in doing so, they open up new opportunities for connection and meaningful living." In the phrase, "Roots hold me close, wings set me free," the emphasis in social humanism is on roots holding me close. We put down roots. As humanists, we are free to choose, and social humanists choose to give up some freedom for relationship. Liberal and social humanism, freedom and relationship. Two ways to be human, two ways to love and nurture the interdependent web. Two ways to be you. Both have a place in this community. So let's take a moment to tune in to our inner humanists if you want. And if you're not a humanist, I trust that you'll find meaning in this in some way. So listen to that part of you that wants to blow in the wind and rise in the sea. Listen to that part of you that yearns to be free and deserves to be free. So let's just take a breath and tune into that. Especially during COVID times, yearning to be free. And listen for that part of you that wants to connect, that wants to go where everybody knows your name, that part of you that wants to sing songs that have been sung for 1,000 years. That part of you that is especially alive in these COVID times, but that yearns for connection. Just notice what flavors of humanism are within you. I'm simplifying when I say that there are two flavors of humanism. There are many flavors of humanism. There's a future-oriented humanism focused on growing the seeds of tomorrow. There is a naturalist humanism connected to the force of life and the interdependent web. There is a mystic humanism that doesn't have answers, but wants to connect with the mystery within and the mystery beyond. We find meaning as humans in many different ways. And these flavors of humanism feel like family to me. I love them all, and they're all within me. Sometimes they get along great. The social humanist is helping everyone to co-create deep community. Life is rich and meaningful, so much humanity. Like I said, neighbors, birthday parties, singing songs that everyone knows. And the liberal humanist is keeping things fresh by challenging stale ideas and researching better ways. The liberal humanist is working so that everyone is free by learning best government practice and ensuring that rules are fairly enforced. They aim for a free society. So much work to do there. The social humanist has the depth of relationship to find out what each of us actually needs to feel free. So the liberal humanist ensures that there is food for all. The social humanist knows your food sensitivities. Our humanists benefit from working together. The liberal humanist encourages everyone to leave home and explore the world, to learn new recipes, new songs, new ways of being. The social humanist provides a home to come back to and an ongoing choir that loves to learn new songs. If liberal humanism comes to dominate, we have a problem. Everyone is going off into the world to explore, and there's no home to come back to, and a lot of injustices go unnoticed. And what do these free spirits do out in the world? Many of them discover the need for relationship. I wonder how many people here joined hippie communes in their younger days in order to live as free spirits. That over-the-top freedom that did not last very long as he discovered that a common culture is needed to work things out, like who is doing the dishes and when are quiet hours. And the over-the-top freedom of hippie communes did not lead to democracy in almost every case. It led to being taken over by charismatic leaders. So the 1960s and 70s had a lot of experiments in how to navigate both freedom and community. If social humanism comes to dominate, there is a different problem. When social ties bind too tightly, relationship is no longer a choice made freely, it is a requirement. So if everyone else is on Facebook, you need to be there or you'll miss out. And community does not naturally blossom like a highly choreographed contra dance. Doing community is more often like trying to run a group three-legged race with people tied to each other, but running off in all directions. So people in community need to be willing to shape themselves into the community. Social humanism depends on the free choice to cooperate. On Canada Day, I prioritized social humanism, relationship. Here in Peterborough, longer known as Nogajiwanong, my partner and I went to a park downtown to an event organized by two Anishinaabe women. We sat with people both Indigenous and non-Indigenous. We listened to the heartbeat of the drum. A man sang a healing chant. We brought attention and love to the moment. Together in that park, in a shimmering of orange t-shirts, we mourned the children killed by intention or negligence. We acknowledged the culture side. We then marched down George Street again to the heartbeat of a drum, and we felt the growing potential of the moment. Most of the t-shirts and signs honored the children. My inner social humanist said, I'm here for what it is worth, whatever it's worth. I believe these stories and I hold the grief and care for everyone involved. And that could have been enough. That was more than enough for the day. There's so much need for holding that grief. But there was more to the event. Some of the placards called for land back, culture back. My inner liberal humanist said, this is about people being free to live their lives as they wish. And it's enshrined in Section 7 of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Yes to people living their lives as they wish. People and communities. So my partner and I talked about what to do next. Some things seem straightforward. Continue to hold space for healing. Continue to celebrate the renewal of Indigenous cultures. And some things seem complicated. How much land to give back? Ontario is what, 77% Crown land or 87% even? So much that could be given back. How to overcome intergenerational trauma? It's going to take time. And we are going to become more familiar with the calls to action. There's an Indigenous doctor named Dr. James Makokis. He is from the Saddle Lake Cree Nation. So he's a doctor and educator on Indigenous health and transgender health. When he came here to give a talk, he showed pictures of a fire ceremony that he created with friends. He talked about staying in relationship with his elders, learning as much as he could from them so that their ways would be passed down. But he didn't like that women couldn't be fire keepers, so he ignored his elders' guidance about that. For Makokis, in his relationship with his elders, there is room for both relationship and discernment. And it is similar for me. As I gain more and deeper relationships with Indigenous peoples, I learn that there is a diversity of opinion about goals, a diversity of opinion about strategies and tactics. I need to use discernment about who to follow and who to partner with. So on Canada Day, I went to the park to be led in a healing ritual. And I also spent time at home learning pre-contact history and different ways of Indigenous living. My social humanist showed up to mourn the loss of these children, and my liberal humanist honored diverse ways of living. I made space for both relationship and liberation, because that's what the leaders asked for. Our flavors of humanism need each other. When one goes too far, the others can swoop in to renew or swoop around and circumvent. We need multiplicity. We need multiple centers, multiple perspectives, multiple strategies. As Carolyn McDade wrote in the song Spirit of Life, we need both roots and wings. Sometimes they'll complement each other and we'll feel like a movement living in harmony. And sometimes our different outlooks will challenge each other and call for change. Could be tough when it happens, but necessary. So there is room for your gifts and your inner humanists. In difficult times, when my soul is weary and I don't see a way forward, what gives me hope is that humanity is resilient. There are many ways to be, and love will find a way. So I would love to hear your thoughts on all of this, and I will put my email address in the chat. And I'm going to take a moment of silence. To our closing benediction is On the Brink by Leslie Takahashi. All that we have ever loved and all that we have ever been stands with us on the brink of all that we aspire to create. A deeper peace, a larger love, a more embracing hope, a greater generosity of spirit, a deeper joy in this life that we share. Over to you, Maya.
Thanks. On behalf of the congregation, I would like to thank everyone here for your presence and participation in worship today. Whether it is your first time here, you attend service sometimes, or you're a longtime member, we hope the service was meaningful to you and that we'll see you again soon. We invite you to stay for a chat after service at our brief virtual coffee hour, and to discuss the question, which will be in the chat in our breakout rooms: what brings you the most joy in life? Our technician Matt will send everyone an invitation to join breakout rooms shortly. If you would not like to participate, feel free to press the leave the meeting button. And if you're a newcomer and would like to learn more about FIRST, we invite you to join Dallas and Diane after service in the newcomers meeting room at 11:30. You'll find a link for that in the chat as well. Thank you, everyone.